Now, with food inflation in the country at concerning levels, the government is working to address the situation by introducing policies to boost food production in the coming months. This is among other issues highlighted in this year's mid-year budget statement by the Finance Minister earlier yesterday in Parliament. Michael Obodu has the rest of the story.
Food inflation, which indicates the rate of price change year-on-year for June, stood at 54.2%. The impact of inflation was further highlighted in the World Bank 2022 report on Ghana, which indicated that the phenomenon put some 850,000 Ghanaians into poverty, while 7.7 million Ghanaians were labeled as food insecure, with the numbers expected to remain high throughout 2023. Despite these concerns, the government reviewed its inflation target for the year upwards to 31.3% from a previous 18.9%.
Primary balance on commitment basis of a deficit of 0.5% of GDP compared to a surplus of 0.7% of GDP, aligning with IMF-supported primary balances. Gross international reserves sufficient to cover at least 0.8 months of imports of goods and service by 2023.
Even though the finance minister indicated that the country's economy had turned the corner for this year, he announced a downward revision of the growth target for the year.
Key revisions to the macro fiscal target for 2023 year include: 1. Overall real GDP growth rate of 1.5% down from 2.8%. Non-oil revenue GDP growth rate of 1.5% down from 3%.
The World Bank had, among others, proposed policies to enhance the agricultural sector as a means to tackle food inflation, and it appears the government took heed to some of the suggestions.
The government is finalizing PFJ Phase 2 to ensure a more efficient and targeted support for the agricultural sector.
Many had expected a review of some taxes in the mid-year budget review, like the e-levy, the COVID-19 levy, especially as the World Health Organization had announced an end of the pandemic, a scrapping of taxes on sanitary pads, among others. But they were left disappointed as the finance minister was silent on these issues, maybe an indicator that desperate times do require desperate measures. Michael Obodu.
Meanwhile, an economics expert and lecturer at the University of Ghana, Professor Lord Mensah, thinks the finance minister's predictions about the economy recovering are uncertain. He pointed out that the actual situation on the ground showed other signs, and much more cost-cutting is required to really turn the economy around.
It tells you that even to the level where there's an improvement, we still cannot have a good impact of this in the economy. Let me come to the inflation. Inflation was hovering around 52 point something. And now we're talking about 40 something percent, which is still way above, you know, the treasury bill rate. So all investors who are rushing to put their money in treasury bills are recording negative real value because their purchasing power is being wiped out by inflation. And the finance minister has indicated that by the end of the year, we should see inflation, you know, around 39%, and which tells you that indeed, even by the end of the year, investments may not realize positive, you know, real value. So, well, per numbers, it is an improvement. But then if you are looking at the economic impact, it is not an improvement because it hasn't changed, you know, the dimensions or the directions of the economy. I know it's going to take some time anyway, but you know, if you look at the numbers, you can say yes, we've leaped in a positive direction. Reduction in inflation is a good signal. Right. Interest rate, for instance, treasury bill, you know, went above, you know, way somewhere 36 point something, but then now we're talking about 30% thereabout, which in itself is a sign that, yes, the interest rate is improving. But does it, you know, make someone who needs funds comfortably walk to the bank and say, I'm going to borrow at a lower cost? That's not the case. Even liquidity is a problem. So from where I sit, in terms of numbers, all these indicators have improved. But looking at economic impact, I can say it's too early. And those numbers or those improvements are not going to make any economic impact.
Now, the Colleges of Education Teachers Association, CTAG, has declared a strike from Tuesday, August 1, due to government's failure to implement allowances as ordered by the National Labour Commission. President of CTAG, Prince Obinghima, declared the industrial action at a news conference in Kumasi.
Now, following several efforts by leadership of CTAG to impress on our employer to comply with the arbitral award orders issued by the National Labour Commission on 2nd May 2023, the National Delegates Conference of CTAG has at its meeting held from Sunday 30th to Monday 31st July 2023, resolved that effective Tuesday 1st August 2023, all tutors of the 46 public colleges of education in Ghana are to withdraw teaching and related services until our employer has complied with all the orders. The demands of CTAG are full payment of 7 months arrears of allowances accruing from the approved conditions of service owed members per the NLC's arbitral award order, payment of 1 month's salary to each member of CTAG as compensation for additional duty performed in the year 2022 as ordered by the NLC. Publication of the report of the staff audit and subsequent extension of public universities' rate of allowances to deserving members of CTAG per the NLC's arbitral award order. Immediate release of leave roster by each college of education to enable each tutor take 15 working days leave for the year 2022 as ordered by the NLC. Unconditional cancellation of the killer all year-round academic calendar, effective 2023-2024 academic year. We want to serve notice to the government that enough is enough. Yes. We have gone through this suffering for far too long, and we believe that the college teacher deserves better.
Still on the labour front, the National Labour Commission will be meeting members of the striking graduates, physician assistants today to discuss their concerns. Now, the strike by the group continues to bite as some health centres across the country remain adamant in calling it off, despite assurances from the National Labour Commission to meet them over their grievances. The strike started on the 19th of July with a gradual withdrawal of services. Now to one of our headline stories, and some victims of the Apiatse disaster have not received compensation after a year and 7 months. They claim that the police charges them 90 cedis each for accident reports, making it a significant challenge. Spokesperson for the Apiatse Relief Committee, Thaiwo Kwashi Aduja, has been sharing their experience.
At the one-year commemoration ceremony of the Apiatse disaster on 20th January this year, lawyer for the victims, Nana Obriboahene, had urged the police administration to expedite the process of helping the victims get their accident reports to enable them file for their compensations. But 7 months down the lane, the problem still persists as the victims are struggling to pay for the 90 Ghana cedis each charged to assess the report. Spokesperson for the Apiatse Relief Committee, Thaiwo Kwashi Aduja, says their coffers is now in the zero, which is making it impossible for the committee to assist the over 1,000 victims.
We are still in talks with the police. They have asked us to also take some actions that probably the victims have not taken because they have to pay for the police accident reports. Some have, some haven't. The person hasn't got money. So up till now, the police reports, they don't have it. Most of them don't have it. Therefore, the lawyer is unable to proceed. So that is that, until we get that money to pay. If they depend on the committee too, it is another story because the committee doesn't have money to pay, example, 90 Ghana cedis each per 1,036 persons. You can imagine how much we are talking about.
He also disclosed that some victims still need medical care, mentioning one who needs 50,000 Ghana cedis to undergo knee surgery.
the livelihood of the people too is zero. So if organizations and individuals are listening, how they supported from the onset, we still need the support. Because the vulnerable group, i.e. the orphans, widows, the aged, and those who are, as a result of the explosion, are incapacitated, they cannot work and stuff, they are living in serious hunger because food supply ceased ending of February. And from February till now, that is the end of the story. So we need support.
Meanwhile, the deadline for the completion of the phase 1 of the rehabilitation has elapsed without it being completed.
We were expecting that the reconstruction of Apiati was supposed to complete in July, but pattern of rainfall this year, which you are witness to today. If there was any construction work that was supposed to be done today, they wouldn't have been able to do it because of how consistently it rained from morning to evening. So that is part of the problems, apart from maybe other technical problems. But if you have followed construction, a lot of factors goes into it. With what I'm seeing, I'm optimistic that we'll see a very good Apiati very soon. But I call for more support for the reconstruction committee as well, so that the second phase will also kickstart, because there's a lot of damage that is still going on there. All the rains of last year rained into the buildings. This year it has continued. If we don't take action quickly, probably it will be a different story.
Well, banking consultant Dr. Kojo Deborah is calling for Parliament's immediate intervention to restore the capital of the Bank of Ghana. Now, the central bank reported significant losses totaling 60.81 billion cedis for the financial year of 2022, in stark contrast to the 1.23 billion cedis profit recorded in 2021. Dr. Deborah spoke on Business Focus.
I'm advocating that you cannot ask. I think we need to remove our lenses. This is not a political issue. This is the people of Ghana.
Indeed.
So we've come to a point where there's a crossroad, and therefore we need a transitional supervisory role. And I'm saying, look, Parliament should step in and supervise the restoration of capital. Now, if we do that, there will be sanity, there will be stability, and there will be confidence. And then there are other issues that we can bring in terms of separation of the function, because Bank of Ghana is operating treasury functions and policy functions. I think with time, we need to look at some of those. But for now, I'm advocating that, look, we need a transition in terms of supervisory role for restoration of capital. Because Bank of Ghana mandates now, given the opinion of the auditors, I think it would be appropriate on their own sense to ask a third party to step in transitionally. That doesn't mean we are taking their independence away.
Well, he was reacting to the BOG's audited financial statement for 2022, which indicates that the total liabilities of the central bank and its subsidiaries exceeded its total assets by 54.52 billion cedis as at 31st December 2022. While the central bank has also posted losses totaling 60.81 billion cedis for the 2022 financial year. There's more in this News Desk report.
While the country awaited updates from the finance minister on key economic indicators of the Ghanaian economy, not many expected the details of the 2022 audited report of the central bank. The Bank of Ghana, mandated to regulate, supervise and direct the banking and credit systems to ensure the smooth operation of a safe and sound banking system, in very contradictory fashion to the performance of banks within the financial sector, posted a whopping 60 billion cedis in losses. The bank recorded negative equity in sharp contrast of the positive in 2021. This negative equity resulted in what now is a 60 billion cedis debt, leaving the institution near insolvency. According to the BOG, the loss has been occasioned from the impact of the domestic debt exchange program, which cost the bank some 48 billion cedis. Also, impairment from quasi-government institutions amounted to some 6 billion cedis in losses, while the impact of exchange rate depreciation accounted for some 5.27 billion cedis in losses. For now, experts have been left with nothing but shock at the details, with the minority threatening action against the governor of the central bank, Dr. Ernest Addison.
Now, on the international front, at least 6 people, including a 10-year-old girl and her mother, have been killed by a Russian missile strike on the Ukrainian city of Kyiv. Now, officials said that 75 others, including 25 children, were injured when missiles slammed into a residential high-rise building early on Monday. Regional governor declared a day of mourning for those lost. Now, the home city of President Volodymyr Zelensky in Kyiv has been a consistent target for Russian strikes. In June, 11 people died and 28 were injured in the city after Russia launched a massive missile attack on civilian buildings. And that's all for the 6 a.m. news here on TV3. My name is Judith Awache Tando. But of course, Roland Walker is with me in the studio with the rest of New Day. Good morning, Roland.
Well, good morning. How are you?
I'm great. And you?
Yeah, I'm okay. What do you make of the finance minister's, appraisal, so to speak? Just finishing us with what the budget review is.
Well, there are lots of questions to ask. We're yet to see.
Yeah.
Basically, it looks like things are going to be going up.
Yeah.
Inflation has been increased. Fuel cost is going up as well. So we'll hear from Ghanaians themselves what they think.
I don't know.
I'm not impressed.
There's something that always beats my mind. You know, by December, we were just floating around 54% in relation to inflation. We're told that because it's now 42%, that's a good thing. So we should be happy about it. But I don't know, before 54, what were we? We were around 28. So
exactly.
I keep wondering, but, you know, we have to make sure we major in the minus and then be happy for ourselves.
Well.